What is up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Boys in the Zone. We got a fun guest here, Lose Takes. Been watching his stuff a lot recently. He's had some great guests on, and he's just been chopping it up, putting out some good content. So I had to bring him on the show. What is up, man?
What's good, y'all? Hey, that's another great season started.
Yes,
Very
sir.
excited. Hey, it's always fun to talk ball, man.
Absolutely. The Cowboys won their season opener away. They're one of five teams to actually win as an away team this week, and it was a 33-17 victory. Really more like 33-10 because the Browns scored very late in the game. But man, it feels good to get that first one under the belt, and it not being against the Giants for one season finally. Speak on what you thought about the initial game after it. What was your thoughts, and who really stood out most from you as a player off the rip?
Um, I just love pretty much everything at this game, from the preparation to just down to the detail, whether it be on the offense, the first half, and then the defense, the entire game. I love how this defense is just night and day compared to last year. I feel like, I saw it. We saw glimpses of it in this preseason. We saw like how the exoskeleton of this defense with guys who are the threes, who's the fours, and how they got it. And you can only imagine what the ones got. And then this chess piece with Micah, like in live action,
Hmm.
was just unbelievable. But if I can, this is hard. You want me to pick one player, man? I, I'll give it to no, I don't want to give it to Overshawn. That's the obvious one. I'm gonna give it to Micah because his
Okay.
impact and what he did. He had 11 pressures. You know, um, really, shout out to Mike Zimmer finally using him as like not just staying him up, being lazy, put him in the end, let him get schemed up against, let teams prepare, let teams slide. Put him in action, whether it be RPO, etc. Uh, just having him move around and let him attack the weakness of the offensive line, the opposing team offensive line, and let him eat. He did his job, man.
Yeah. No, 11 pressures, 6 hurries, 4 quarterback hits, 1 pass defense that led to the interception by Kendricks, a sack, and a 20.8 pass rush win percentage from Micah Parsons. He was phenomenal. You spoke to him kind of being, and even the coverage of the game spoke to him kind of being that queen chess piece on the board, and just being able to utilize him wherever you can in that A gap, on the edge, dropping him back. He had some coverage snaps in there as well.
Yeah.
He was just phenomenal. You mentioned Overshone, who actually graded out as the highest Cowboy
Yeah.
out of any player on our team. He had an overall grade of 88.6 on PFF. Just overall an electric debut by DeMarvion Overshone. And I think that he graded out as a top 3 linebacker, only behind Fred Warner
Right.
and the Bengals linebacker, I believe,
Mhm.
Wilson. So, yeah, incredible by him. But also another guy I got to give shouts to, also coming off of the ACL, is Trayvon Diggs. He
Mhm.
was lights out, lockdown all game. You saw that he had that click and close ability as well on the stick and hit where he came up and made a nice third down tackle. He got an interception back
Mhm.
from the ACL.
Yep.
That's got to feel so great for him. And I don't know if you got to catch the sounds of the sideline yet. They dropped about 45 minutes ago. You can just see him and Al Harris. Those two, man, they love each other so much. He was so proud of Trayvon Diggs for getting in there doing that. Um, but on the other side, man, and even I mean, my guy who I have to shout out as the best player would be Jordan Lewis, but I'll get to that in just a
Yeah.
moment. Kalen Carson, though, he played so well in his debut as just a rookie and a guy that kind of got thrown into the action, of course. I mean, he's known for a little bit, of course, with Bland being out for maybe like 2 weeks now.
Mhm.
But overall, man, very impressed with him. We'll get to his grade later on in the show. But my guy, Jordan Lewis, came up and tackled extremely well. Played
Yes.
some good slot receivers. Moore and Judy working in
Yeah.
the slot some.
Mhm.
Those guys are no slouches. I thought that overall, Jordan Lewis brought a lot of that tough physicalness that you want to see from your slot corner, and doesn't get enough shine. Honest to God,
Yeah.
he's one of those guys that continues to come in, work every single season, and everybody's always trying to replace him. He's
Yeah.
very good. He came in a little bit gimpy last season, and that led to him kind of giving up some plays. But once he got good and healthy, he was very good down that stretch. So I have to shout out Jordan Lewis. Um, yeah, and another thing I wanted to talk about overall was the safeties and how they were
Oh,
played.
yeah.
Do you have something off the rip that you want to
Oh, I
talk about
just
with them?
Oh, because I mean, I was a guy who wanted. I was looking at Dono as a possible trading piece. I think all these people you're talking about here's the conversations on how we think they're expendable, and that's light a fire in their game.
Yeah,
We've seen Dono. As you know, the safeties are the most important probably position in Mike Zimmer's scheme because that's literally if watching Cam Newton how he goes through progressions. As soon as he comes to the line, the first thing he
hmm,
looks at is the safeties. The safeties tell everything. Pretty much, I would say 80% of what the defense is doing. It's the coverage. Sometimes it's the a lot of times it's the pressures because they got to roll, the coverage to where the pressure is coming from in order to fill the holes.
yeah,
So I just love that we um both safeties got to be able to tackle and cover because they're going to be interchanging,
yeah. That's
responsibilities.
that. And sorry to cut you off. That's the biggest switch from
Mhm.
DQ to Mike Zimmer is because, like you mentioned, the safeties are interchangeable. They're asked to play box even if they're more of a typical free safety,
Yeah,
and and we've seen that back in his time with Minnesota. That's why it was so important to have both of those guys back there for him. Now
Harrison Barnes and
with
yeah, I forgot the other
exactly,
guy. Yeah,
exactly. And with Donovan Wilson, with mixing in some Wanye, with Hooker, you've got a nice rotation of safeties. Now, I didn't really notice Wanye on the field if he did get on the field a lot,
mm,
but still, it's so important. And we've already seen in this very early season how important it is to have good depth. Sam
mm,
Williams went down. You got Marshawn Nealand in the second round. Everybody was kind of worried about that pick. Not me. I really liked the pick, but
yeah,
it came to he's basically your second or yeah first guy off of the bench really
yeah,
after D Law and Micah go off and get some much needed rest. So very important to have depth. Same thing with that safeties. Same thing with your corners. You saw Bland. He's out
mhm,
for 6 weeks or so. And you have to play Carson now, but it's so important to get those pieces in there, and having Wanye in that rotation as well is it just makes me have so much hope for this safety group in the future and getting a nice rotation. And I really am excited about this back end.
yeah,
Um, one thing I did want to note is the Cowboys were heavy in, I won't say heavy, they used a lot of 21 personnel,
mhm,
um, which is, the typical fullback or two
mhm.
backs or
And
whatever
one tight end. Yeah,
look and one tight end. With Ferguson maybe possibly missing this next game. Who knows? But that means that your guy in those sets, those 21 personnel sets, is probably going to be Schoonmaker.
mm.
Do you have any reservations about Schoonmaker kind of coming into this fold? Because he's kind of more of your blocker guy. He's kind of more of your on the field if you're in 12 personnel, not really the 21 personnel.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I'm about to
what are
say.
your thoughts with that?
Yeah, we don't want all of 21, but like what they shown this last game, they're willing to go into 12, and it's like a weird looking 12 because Hunter is in at the tight end, and
Yeah.
I kept seeing reports that he was getting work at tight end. Listen, soon I worry about his because what people need to understand why he kept so many tight ends on his list. I mean, on this
Hmm.
roster, he wants to go 21 and 22 personnel. He wants two tight ends on it. He wanted to do it last year, but he couldn't do it because of Shun. Because
Mm.
you need to have that. You need to be able to run routes and be a threat in the passing game as well. You cannot be just a solid blocker because as soon as
Yeah.
we bring you out there, you're going to tip away of what we're trying to do, or you're just going to be an unaccounted for. Like for as a defense, we're going to treat you like a offensive lineman because we know you're not going to beat us. Or you know what I'm saying. So I don't know. We're gonna see. Maybe John Stevens get some looks. I mean, I'm just praying Shoemaker something happens because we're gonna need that
Yeah.
interior. Somebody's got to put pressure on the middle of the field.
Well, I think that you were on the right path when I actually think that Hunter Lipke is going to get a lot of those
Yeah,
snaps and targets because not only was he probably the best blocker as far as your tight ends go. I mean, obviously he's a fullback, but in week one, but he also showed some in the running game. He
yeah,
also showed that he can run some routes, go out wide, like you mentioned, in some kind of strange variation of 21 personnel where he's
right.
not really a back in that matter, but he's
Like a
more of a
H,
tight end.
like a wing
But
back and like a half like wing,
yeah.
like yeah,
And we see the 49ers do that a lot with Kyle Juszczyk
yeah.
and utilize him with George Kittle out wide, and then they only have the single back in that kind of pistol formation. Extremely versatile, and it gives the defense something to keep in the back of their head. Not always is he going to line up in the backfield, but he can also come and sit on the end of that tackle and do some work out there as well. So I actually really think that Hunter Lipke is going to be valuable moving forward, especially if Ferguson does miss 1 or 2 weeks. Now Ferguson is it's more of a lighter sprain from what I
Yeah.
hear, and he's still possibly going to play this week. Who knows? Mike McCarthy said it's a possibility they're gonna kind of ramp him up with the players that are rehabbing and stuff, but who knows? I expect them to probably sit him, especially with it. Just they've got that first win under their belt. They don't want to
Mm.
lose him for a prolonged period of time. So better to keep him on the bench and just allow some of your younger guys to go and
You just
gain.
mentioned something with that use check and Kittle. If we can somehow replicate that, because I don't think understand people don't understand how like that can be like a game changer in our playbook
Yeah,
because you can't go like okay. Typically, the reason why tight ends obviously the tight end position is a hybrid. It's a unicorn on the field because it's too big for safeties and DBs to cover, but it also can be I mean no too strong for safeties and DBs, but also we may sometimes too big or more of a speed gap between linebackers. So
for
when you
linebackers. Yep.
go in there with the was it the 12 personnel or like 22 personnel, and you
Hmm.
have them, they're gonna have to stay in base. Or if they come out there in dime or like in what is it,
Big Nichols.
nickel,
Yep.
big nickel, we're gonna run the ball down their throat. Like because we have guys, they have small guys in there, and I'm loving the improvement of this offensive line. But the double teams that we're gonna be able to do, because we seen a version of it this week. They went tackle over. I loved it. It was chef's kiss. We should have. I know it's a very we're getting more creative. I'm seeing it with Mike
Yeah.
McCarthy, and we got like 10 yards the 2 times we went. It was like a Rico. That was probably the only time Rico Dowdle saw like a 10-yard game. But you know, creating sometimes you can force the defense, in your hand by having that, later on. That's why it's important, to have some variations with your tight end.
No, I completely agree with you, and I there was some times where the Cowboys were too creative. I felt like in the running department where
Mm,
they asked some guys to trap two players away or come across the line and try to trap block on some
yeah,
some instances and try to reach block on some instances. Cooper Beebe, for how good he was all game, as far as pass blocking, there were some times where he didn't get out
mm,
when we're accustomed to seeing him get out so well to the second level and make some blocks. Now, of course, the one play I'm referring to is against JOK, which is one of those
yeah,
linebackers
back
that it
there.
just
So yeah,
so hopefully that stuff will get cleaned up a little bit, but I think that's our biggest weakness right now is just that running game and
yeah,
figuring out how to block better for these running backs. Because I don't know about you, I thought Zeke looked really good, especially in the
yeah,
pass catching game. Not only as just a pass blocker when he was asked to pick up a blitzer, but just catching the ball out of the backfield and getting positive yards. Now he's lost a step. He's not as speedy. He's not as elusive, but he can still catch the ball just as well as any other back in the league, and he can pick up some yards, some tough yards if a
yeah.
linebacker or whoever is there to try to make a hit on him. So, really liked what I saw from Zeke. What are you kind of feeling? You like the rotation it is right now? Zeke is your one, Rico is your two. Mix in some sprinkles of Lipke and Deuce. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I was wrong on Zeke. I'll be the first to admit it, but like I wasn't all the way wrong. I already said none of this really works if McCarthy doesn't like plan or fill out during the game. You can fill out during this game that Zeke was going to be needed. because in these like the Browns were a heavy blitzing team, and we're gonna need him in pass protection downs, and he just had it. So
Yeah.
if he can use that even for with other games, maybe there's a Rico Dowdle game. Maybe even there may be a Deuce game. If he does a good job in filling out these running backs during these games, I have no problem with this. I'm not
Yeah.
asking this run game to be top of the league. I'm not. I'm asking it for it to be literally just slightly above average. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm paying attention to the yards per pop. Like,
Yeah.
yards. Yeah.
I think what's more important than the run game is the play calling,
Hmm.
because when you automatically go to the line and you call a run on first down, it's inevitably well, not inevitably, but it's probably going to lead to a second and long. And that's where you've got to kind of peel back your habits a little bit and roll more with the play actions right there, or the quick screen game, as kind of an extension of the run to
Yeah.
get you in that second and 5, 4, 3 territory. That it's just at that time it's just playing with house money for Dak Prescott, because he is really good on third down. If you can give him that short of a distance to get the first down, I feel like it opens up your playbook a lot more, gives the defense more to think about. Okay, this could be a run or it could be a pass. It could be this. It could be, the boot and waggle. The Cowboys love to use their tight ends. So it just opens up a lot more things versus a 2nd and 8. The defense already knows you're going to pass.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's more important than the running backs necessarily for me. My guy Falcon he brings up this. The TD Zeke got, what are the odds that y'all think Pollard gets that last year?
No, he doesn't.
Um,
Yeah, he doesn't get it. He gets arm tackled. That's the thing. I mean, that's Zeke game. Like that interior, the 10 yards in, you put Zeke in 100 times out of 100. Because he's gonna be able to. It's all about momentum down there, right?
yeah,
And I don't need Pollard. He doesn't have the frame to last within the goal line, because I need you consistently moving forward, because the big guys up front are moving forward, and the field is condensed. So every little gap matters. You falling forward in that gap matters. And that's what Zeke, as soon as he got that, he was already leaning forward. Even with him tripping and breaking the tackle, just that momentum, that's what I want.
yeah. And for all the woes in the running department in game one, they did play a really good D line. They played some nice linebackers as well. But in the pass protection game, the Cowboys were actually top 5 in the league for least pressure allowed. Against that front, that's seriously impressive. They only allowed 20% pressure on dropbacks from Dak. And the Eagles actually, for as touted as their offensive line is, they actually allowed 42%. That's actually top 5 most in the league. So
Yeah.
kind of interesting. Obviously, week one sample size, you can't uh, you know bear too much weight on that, but I didn't want to bring up that stat. And then I also wanted to talk about Cooper Beebe. 0 pressures on 36 pass snaps. Can we give the young man some praise? Talk about him a little bit, because he was so good in pass pro for his first game under center, first game playing center in his entire life, away, enemy territory for the Dallas Cowboys. 0 pressures. That's big time. Talk about it.
Shout out to all the rookies. I mean, we got the win, but what's more important, we're getting these young guys valuable reps. Tyler Guy, like, they are going in. There's one thing to go with Duke Manyweather during the summer,
Hmm.
where Coach Solaris. It's another thing to be out there fighting. Like, actually, you can't replicate going against Miles Garrett. You can't replicate going against was it Tomlinson? You can't replicate going against these guys. Yeah, I thought he was great in like pass protection. Only thing I would critique just a tad bit, I don't know if Mike Solaris is going to, ask him a bit, but on the play that Zach Martin gave up the sack, which is like in the beginning of the game,
Hmm.
was a half slide, and he was sliding towards the left side, like that was his own side. I don't know if Mike is telling him like, hey, get out there and immediately, protect your gap and help the guard. I was just because he had a one take, and that's how Zach pretty much got like gave up the sack. Like Zach just didn't he couldn't jump. I want to say he didn't jump set and get over enough. And Thomason was immediately on his hip. I don't know if I want BB just because I know if he's watching the film, if he's not being told that, he's gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna give my guy Zach just a hand, just a tad bit second, so he
Hmm.
can take over. Then I'm keeping my eyes towards Tyler Smith, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna clean it up because he's in a three tech. Tyler Smith is handling him, but
Yeah.
I mean that's something that's we're gonna fill that out. I mean, he's probably already got in his mind during the game that hey, I'm next to two All Pros, so I'm thinking they got their own lunch. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Well,
yeah,
that's a good point, though. I mean, the three tech on, I think it was Dalvin Tomlinson who got that sack. No.
yeah,
Okay, so yeah, so whoever their three tech is, I'm blanking on it. It's a good
yeah.
three tech, I should know. Um, but yeah, just understanding Tyler Smith has three tech, I probably should help out with the bigger, stronger player with Zach Martin. Of course, both those guys, like you mentioned, all pros. They
Mhm.
should be able to handle those guys. But I think one of the biggest uh, kind of juggling games as a center is just understanding how to pick who I should help more often than not,
Mhm.
and like those two guys are so good. It's like it's almost harder to pick because you don't know which one's the weaker link. You know what I mean? So just keeping his head on the swivel, understanding matchups, and understanding who is in front of your guard, because he's probably not going to see a lot of zero text right on his face throughout the season unless it's just one of those teams that actually does play a nose tackle. But regardless, uh, that was one of those ones where, yeah, you could kind of blame it on Zach. I know Zach blamed it on himself
Himself,
in the
yeah.
presser, but yeah, definitely Cooper probably could have got over there and helped. Um, Wanted to talk about Dak's debut. Obviously, he gets paid 60 million APY, 231 million guaranteed, 240 over 4 years. Um, do you like the contract? What do you feel about Dak? And then what do you think about his game one performance? Obviously, a tale of two halves, in my opinion, but interested to hear your take.
Oh, well, as far as the contract, he's worth every penny. I mean, Dak has done. I believe, like, if you ask me, I think Dak is like either top three or really top two quarterback in the league. I really and I
Mm,
truly wholeheartedly believe that the combination of leader and what a quarterback has done, and because I value with quarterbacks what you can do without, not what you can do with. There's a lot of quarterbacks that has they've been propelled in this conversation after their team has like went all in and got them the necessary weapons, and now they're a totally different quarterback. While Dak, he's dealing with an incompetent, front office at times. There we are a draft and develop team. We're not an aggressive front office. We're not going to go get the guys when we need them. That's why we lose all these playoff games because we have necessary holes in the roster, and we have guys that's drafted in the late round or undrafted playing those guys versus the other team who has competent veterans or first round. Like it's a difference in talent. So what Dak has done and what he's done so far, he's done nothing but get better. Yeah, he's worth every penny,
yeah,
especially coming off the All Pro season. And what you gotta pay him because like that's the first year under this offense, and he didn't get it until probably the Niners game. And then once they got it, it was a completely different offense. So, and then as far as this game right here, I thought he had an amazing first half. He was looking very efficient. I think in the second half they very much did dial it back. Um, Dak is one of the most why I admire Dak because he's one of the most cerebral quarterbacks in the league.
yeah,
He's pre-snap. He's setting the protection. He's given enough trust by his coach to even change the play once he sees a look on the field. Not a lot of quarterbacks do that. A lot of quarterbacks get their hand held. You know what I'm saying? And it's nothing against them. I'm just saying when you get propped up to this conversation, I gotta knock that against you because your workload is just not the same.
yeah.
So
No, that's a good point. Shots at a certain quarterback that wears number one. Anyways, Dak Prescott started the game 12 of 17, 140 yards, and the touchdown, passer rating of 114, completion percentage of 71%. And the Cowboys were up 14-3 at that time. They go into halftime 20-3, and then Dak doesn't see the ball again until they're up by 27-3.
yeah,
So I think that a lot of fans wanted Dak to come out there and just, hey, we're up by so much, we can just go revert back into the Kellen Moore offense and just put it on this team and let all of our guys get super amount of stats and all of this stuff. But when you understand the difference in play calling, I think that the Cowboys, used motion on 26 plays
Mm.
and throughout the game, and I think that only 3 of those came in the second half. I might be misquoting that, but it was a big difference from the
Yeah,
first half to the second half as
they
far
doubted
as
about it. Yeah, they doubted
the
about it.
motion rate. Also, just how they were trying to play the game, understanding, hey, Miles Garrett is over here. He's against the rookie. We're either going to have to chip him with Ferguson, and that's probably why you didn't see as much of Ferguson as you'd liked as a Cowboys fan. Or you're gonna have to get out and roll one way and kind of eliminate almost a little bit, half of the field or at least a third of the field just because you're rolling to one side. But it
Mhm.
was such a good game plan from the Cowboys that executed it perfectly. And then you not only marry the defense with the offense in the first half. Obviously, the offense didn't perform as well in the second half, but you married those two, and then it comes in with the middle with the special teams of Brandon Aubrey, who's just lights out, just continues to be
God.
such a weapon for this team. I said he's probably the difference between uh, 2 or 3 wins in the season just because that's how good he is. And then you add on this new kickoff rule. I think that immediately ups Turpin's value to this team. You saw it on the punt return, just so electric. And I'm super excited for the special teams this year.
Yeah. Oh my God,
And
dude.
you know
Yeah.
that John Fossil is already dialed up some crazy looks for that kickoff return. You already know it. It's just a time to see it come to fruition in the later in the season. But very excited with all of those things coming together. But as far as Dak goes, yeah, conservative play calling after that first half, and it's one of those things you want to see the running game get going a little bit more at that point, but Cleveland probably understood, hey, they're up by this much, they're just going to run the clock down. So,
Mhm.
um, it's one of those things, man. You've got to take it with a grain of salt. Of course, Dak didn't even throw for 200 yards, the one touchdown, whatever. Um, Hopefully, we see a little bit more against the Saints, but
Yeah.
who knows? The Cowboys have been, I think that over the past 2 seasons have averaged 33 or 32 points a game at home. So, who knows? This could be a big game for them as well, especially if they jump out to the early lead. We'll talk a little bit more about the Saints further on in the show, but are you still worried though about the offensive line as far as run blocking?
No, I think they showed. I mean, it's not perfect, but there's something there, and that's what's triggered the creativity of McCarthy. He's trying new things. There's a chip on the shoulder. I love Tyron Smith to death. That's probably my favorite Cowboy of all time. Maybe less than Larry Allen because I love offensive linemen, but uh Tyron Smith, he didn't have it in the run game, especially like his
Yeah,
knees. He didn't have that same burst in his prime days. He had a little burst and he can like overpower with his upper body. We now we have some pop with these young rookies. Now we can even Terrence Steele is fully healthy. Like we have something there.
yeah,
We just need to be more efficient. You talked about the offense in the second half. I don't even care if they scored. My thing is what is they leaned in on the tempo because the tempo is a part of like neutralizing Garrett. But I didn't like when we was going like 1 minute, 2 minute drives and we immediately throwing the defense back out there. That's
mm,
counterproductive football.
yeah,
This defense is balling out of control right now. We want to keep them, we don't want to have them gassed, you know. Maybe
yeah.
is
That was the Kellen
sometimes
Moore. That was the Kellen Moore
yeah,
philosophy.
that was yeah, and we didn't like that because that leads to injuries when people are tired. Like we sometimes I don't even want you to play. You don't even have to play for the touchdown. Play the field position battle. Like just at least get a drive going. Milk the clock because I
Hmm.
want the clock moving, especially when we're up. But I mean, I think a lot of I said this in my video on for the release, but a lot of teams struggle. I think that's a part of the offensive rush because we saw so many leagues get so many teams lost leads in the second half
Yeah,
across the NFL. So maybe that grows with time. Maybe we grow out of this. But I know they're seeing this on the film. We need to get better at the 4 minute offense. So
yeah. No, I would. I'm I don't know. Mike Solari has me a little bit worried about the run blocking, just because of what he's asking them to do and all these crazy. I think he's trying to get a little bit too creative. That's just what I'll
Yeah, I
say.
think he's trying to get was it Ben Johnson's? Because I mean, all of this pullback, this is what the Lions do,
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, keep going.
But
Yeah.
I think with the Lions is they have so many weapons that it's almost like the linebackers are so concerned with the weapons over the middle and with the running backs out of the backfield and all this stuff that it makes them think more. It doesn't allow them to get in their gaps and on their cues as quickly. I don't know. I maybe I'm overreading this, but I just think that the Cowboys run blocking has is it still leaves a little bit to be desired. We'll just put it that way. Um, if there's one point of improvement you have to see from week 1 to week 2, what would that be?
Yeah, run blocking efficiency, I would say. Um, I just we just need to have an average run game. I need to see, and hopefully we clean up the penalties. I just what I want from is in the offense is just to stay ahead of schedule.
Hmm.
Don't get behind the sticks. There's no play call in the book that's for second and 12, second and 13, 14, 15. Stay ahead of
Yeah,
the sticks. I want it, and even if it's a first down run, I'm looking for 4 yards. That's my goal, 4 yards, right? And
yeah,
then now we're second up for second and 6, and then maybe we get a with the West Coast, we get I don't know, a 2-3 yard passing play. Now it's third and 1. Like that to me is a good drive. If we end on third down and it's third and 1, now the playbook grows out, tremendously, and so I'm really gonna be paying attention to this offense. I mean, luckily, this is another good defense. Hopefully, we don't overlook this game looking towards the Ravens, but this is a good defense, but they're not the same as the Browns. The Browns
yeah,
defense is probably the best you're going to see this entire year. I'm gonna be honest with you because
yeah.
they're a very good defense. The
And they're
Saints,
even better at home.
they're
So,
even better at home.
yeah,
So let's get a rhythm going. Let's get these young guys some more reps. Let's be more efficient. I'm not looking for crazy numbers this year. As Cowboys fans, we're tired. We need to see something we can grab up on into the playoffs. I need to see efficiency.
yeah.
I need to see some hope. I would say.
For sure. I put out a tweet. I think that your best wide receiver happens to be your best running back too. So we'll see if Dalvin Cook can come in here and bring a little bit of juice as well to that lineup. But overall, run blocking needs to be better, and then just overall opening up some holes, and then the backs have to be able to hit the hole quick, decisive, and get those extra yardage plays to roll through. If I had one point of emphasis from game 1 to game 2 that I think that we need to see is more motion, more motion, more motion. Because as dating back to last year, whenever we got the motion rates up and the motion percentage up, it did wonders for our offense. Now, of course, you were up by 24 points in that second half, so it went down. Understandable, but I just want to continue to see that, especially against a creative offense on the other end with the New Orleans Saints we're going to see next week. Um,
Yeah, I
one
mean,
word. Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
Just to add, just a quick thing. I mean, if they did dial it back, I appreciate that. That's Mike McCarthy being, conscious of the schedule ahead. Don't
Yeah.
want to put that on film. So yeah, and then also Tolbert. I'm looking at the wide receiver too. Somebody
Mm.
needs to step up. Shout out to Cooks, but not wide receiver two, wide receiver three. Somebody, Jalen Brooks, you had a good catch, but I need some consistency. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. Tolbert was actually probably one of the only players that I had as a stock down
Yeah.
after this game. He had the holding on the very first play of the game that kind of erased that Zeke run, and then other than that, he batted down a ball that was supposed to go to his teammate over the top of him, thinking it was for him. He just he didn't even have a single catch, so needs to be better. And yeah, that's just point blank. You need to be better. Cooks is wide receiver 2. Ferg is wide receiver 2. LOL. Let's be real. Oh, he
I
said
mean,
for Cooks is wide
wide
receiver
receiver
3.
three. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So one word reactions here. Chat, you can play along if you want to. Mike Zimmer's defensive scheme. One word reaction, and then you can go ahead and explain.
Unpredictable.
Mm, I like that one.
Yes, and I love it because and I hate Trayvon Diggs went on the presser and gave it away because I knew it in my mind, the chess piece of Micah, that they have like 50 different ways. And I know every other D coordinator getting paid means they understand it too, but don't give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't give them the satisfaction. Right. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Unpredictable. I had disguise. So I mean, he loves to disguise. He loves to walk those linebackers up in that mug look, drop them back to coverage. He doesn't only play cover 1 and cover 3 like Dan Quinn played. He plays
Mhm.
1 through 4. He'll mix in some cover 6 or some
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
some half quarters. He'll do a lot on the back end. He'll rotate his safeties post snap. He just confuses opposing quarterbacks.
You know what I
So
also seen that he also does it up front. Like I seen was it Phillips and Linval Joseph? I think Linval started in the 1 and Phillips started in the 3, and then like in the cadence right before they said hut, they shift. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Like and
that brings you back to the Marinelli days, man.
yeah, like they shift and like they're now
Yeah.
somebody else is in the 1 and 3. As an offensive lineman, that's confusing as well. I mean, I know my rules. I know what gap I have, but that split second, like doing that creates confusion with the offensive line and it buys
Hmm.
time for your linebackers to read and react. And
Yeah.
that right there, because that's the main aspect that Zimmer wants to disrupt. I keep saying this over and over again. The timing. Timing is everything. He wants to disrupt your eyes so you miss the look, so you're late. He wants to disrupt the your timing with your offensive linemen, so you're late getting to my linebackers so they can make a play. Timing is everything that he wants to
Hmm.
disrupt. So
And another thing just that I really liked to see from Zimmer's defense was in that mug look with the 2 linebackers up in the A gap. That causes opposing quarterbacks that know what they're doing at least to have to keep a tight end or a running back in and not have them out in their routes, have them back for protection, and they have to you know basically change
check.
their entire
Yeah.
play, check into the protection, and then whenever your linebackers drop down, that clogs any routes that are going in the middle of the field and really allows your DBs to squeeze the sideline and play everything outside. So just love that stuff from Mike Zimmer overall. I liked your one word for that one was really good. Dak's contract finally getting done. One word description.
uh, Relaxation. It's over. I'm so
Relaxation. There
glad.
we
I'm
go.
so glad like that narrative's behind me. Just that having it over the team. I know they're like relaxed as well too, because having to answer that question over and over and over and over again. They milked it. The Jones family kept pushing that narrative out. I'm glad the well finally went dry, and they cannot make no money no more off that narrative. So yeah.
Mm. I said heavens because it had to have come from heaven because getting that done right before the game, man, I was thanking God. I was like, man,
Yes.
finally don't have to hear this narrative throughout the season.
On the
The
mic.
only person that's on the 1 year contract is Mike Zimmer and Mike McCarthy, and that is what it is. But it puts some fire under their butts. I kind of like that more for coaches than players, really. So yeah, I was thanking heaven for that one. Demarcus Lawrence getting 2+ sacks.
Who would have thought that?
Yeah, yeah.
But that speaks to the scheme of this defense. Like that's one thing I think we're gonna get into. That's what I hated with Dan Quinn's scheme. The freelance, the free. He gave them too much freedom. He had. If I can best like describe the difference in like an illustration form of Dan Quinn's defense versus Zimmer, is that they were like independent minds working on a
Mm,
system, and Zim wants a hive mind mentality. We all think is one. We're all like, yes, you may not get the sack right here, but I still want you to work your ass off and to stay in this gap right here because you can force you can your other team can eat. And it
yeah,
makes you look good as well. I would praise you when it comes on the film, and like, or when you lose takes and EJ Savage, we can pray because I'm paying attention to that.
yeah,
Overshown when you're working your ass off, on a run play, on a run fit, and you didn't make the tackle, but you just overemphasize on keeping your hand free, forcing it back inside for Kendricks to make like I am paying attention to that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
yeah. My one word finally, finally we see is a plus uh, more than one sack performance from D Law. I think the last one was against the Giants, where he was just absolutely torturing Evan Neal.
Mhm.
But since then, man, it's been few and far between for D Law, and so really excited to see that. Of course, it's against backup tackles. You know, it is what it is. I actually really like Dewan Jones. I liked him out of Georgia, Ohio State actually is where he's from.
Mhm.
Um, but still a backup tackle. So it is what it is. But I just finally for him, Brandon Aubrey. One word to describe that man.
uh, man, one word. Metal. He got a metal leg. Uh, that
Metal. I
I
like
would
that.
have,
Okay,
I would have fell out my chair if he would have, like, if that 71er, a
if he would have
71
attempted
yarder,
it and made it, oh
he
my
made it.
goodness.
Like, if it would have counted, like, he made it. If it would have
Oh,
counted, like,
the 66. But I'm saying
oh
if
yeah,
he
the
would have
66.
hit
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah. The
71, yeah,
71. The 71. You're right. And I think he had enough leg to get it there. I just, I'm glad they didn't attempt it, because then putting it back there, putting the guy back there, people don't understand that when you have field goal team, most of the guys out there are linemen, and asking them to kick, to be able to cover in space is very hard.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Falcon says
And
it's Android. I went with Dax nickname for him, Butter. He's butter, man. Just crispy, just smooth, man. Goes on anything. You like it where if it's whether whatever it's on. So, yeah, man, crazy. I don't think people understand how insane 66 from outdoor stadium is, because
that's insane.
66 is a record. It was in, I believe, Detroit when Justin Tucker hit that off of the bottom bar, the crossbar, and bounced over. So Brendan Aubrey had plenty of leg past that and hit it outdoors. Like, that is insane. If he would have hit the 71, bro, oh my goodness. You better sign. Like, I already know that he's under contract for like 3 years or whatever it is, but just sign him up for even more, dude. I really don't care.
I think he wasn't playing football just a couple of years ago.
Yep. Shout out to Brendan Aubrey's wife for saying you could do that. Yeah, you could do that. Um, man, the linebacker core moving forward, one word to describe them.
Electric. Electric. It
Mm,
is night and day, our linebackers
yes.
from last year.
Yes.
And it's so relieving, because I was watching Boss Cowboy video. When you see how they're playing, it just makes you see last year what we were lacking.
Yeah.
This is gonna make this defense so much better. Shout out to Eric Kendricks. He had a hell of a game as well. I
Yeah.
I'm and if I love the depth we have too. So, man, I can't wait to that's gonna be probably one of my favorite position groups outside of the offensive line to break down film game after game.
Yeah. No, I had ballers as my one word description for those guys, because it seems like you rotate one out and the next one in, they don't even miss a step. It's so electric, so exciting to see that from last year to this year, just them fitting gaps and playing with that understanding and just know how to get to the actual
Instincts.
spot they were. Yeah, exactly. The instincts to get to the spot they need to is night and day. And that's no shade to the linebackers we had last year. Of course, Bell was good in his time, moving down from safety in there. And I think Damone Clark is so much better when he doesn't have to be that green dot guy, where he doesn't have to
Yeah.
diagnose, and he has another guy to play alongside him and help him out. I think he plays so much better. And actually PFF seems to agree, because they had him as their third rated, I think, or maybe fourth rated Cowboy as far as their grading goes. I can't believe Kendricks wasn't up there. He wasn't in the top 5 for the Cowboys, but beside that,
Shout
very,
out to
very
Dunker,
impressed with
the
them.
linebacker
Yeah.
coach. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of the coaches that we added this past season have already showed how good they are, and just their accountability they have on specific players. Like, I know that he was hard on Mozzie Smith.
Yeah.
Um, And it goes likewise for different coaching groups, like Al Harris working with Kendricks. He's like, hey, don't jump up when you go for the interception, so you can go and instantly get the pick six.
Mhm.
Certain stuff like that just speaks volumes to the culture they're building here in this building. And man, I'm super excited about this defensive unit moving forward. And I know that a lot of people in the past were saying, hey, it takes some time for this Mike Zimmer defense to get its feet under it because it is a complicated defense. But in past, when Mike Zimmer gets hired for other jobs, he's getting bottom of the barrel kind of guys. This defense
Yeah,
is
this is
already good. It
talented.
already
Yeah.
has two All Pro corners. Of course, Bland was out. It already has Malik Hooker on the back end. That's a really good free range safety. You got Dono as the big hitter. You've got Kendricks who understands your defense already. You've got two fast, cerebral. Oh, I won't call Damone Clark necessarily cerebral, but
Yeah.
instinctual, fast linebackers, and him and Overshown. And then you've got one of the best edge rushers and best run defending edges in the league with D Law and Micah Parsons. It's going to be a fun defense all year, and it's going to be, in my opinion, a top five defense. The more it gets under understanding of this defense, like Diggs and like Parsons mentioned, they only use 3 sets out of the 50 that they have. Now, when people see that, they don't understand that it can still be the same set, but it can be disguised as something different, or it can be a variation of a set that looks different. So just because the alignment isn't the same every time, it's basically the same thing, same defensive coverage
and
when
that's
they
what
say that.
and that's what Tom Brady hated. That's
Yeah,
what he said on live.
on
That's
the
why he
broadcast. Yep.
hated playing Mike Zimmer, because Mike Zimmer, he has a base, and the variations, it's like 60 different variations, but the base looks the same, every time. And I know,
Hmm.
like, I just put it in my video. It takes an asshole of a coach to be able to coach that. Somebody who's very strict. A guy who's for the players and Dan Quinn cannot get that out of his players. I'm sorry, because the I already know because he wants, in order to do that, he's coaching perfection all camp.
Hmm.
They kept going back to it. Why are you giving it away? Why are you giving it away? I just get back in that spot. I know that your responsibility is 15 yards away across the field, across to the other hash,
Yeah.
but get back in that A gap, like I said, because I need you to hold it to the very last section. Do not inch over. Do not give your eyes away or anything like that. And it takes, it takes a certain type of person to coach that.
And it takes trust. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, the cover six looks. Cover six is not an easy defense to
It's not.
trust your defense to have,
It's
because
not.
one of your safeties has this entire half
Entire
of the
half.
field.
Yes.
And then you have one safety taking a quarter, and
Quarter.
you
Yeah.
have your corner taking this corner.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding that it doesn't only take, hey, let's run this cover six look and disguise it as a cover three look, but it also takes the trust in your players to show this safety as a strong safety, as a box safety, and he's dropping way back. The slot is coming out to cover that flat, and your linebackers are staying in that middle of the field. Like, that takes a lot of trust as a coach to call that as well. So just
And a
super,
lot of teaching. You gotta,
yeah,
like, I'm sorry, but Micah Parsons, and that's what they preach. Micah needs to know what's going on behind, behind him. This cover six look, it takes long to develop. So I'm gonna
yeah,
need to maintain your lanes and do not let Deshaun Watson break this pocket, get outside
break
containment.
contain.
Because if he breaks contain, we got a guy over here who's covering a half of the field, and they're
Uh-huh.
overloading that side with, they're sending two routes that way. So it's very important that you let it develop. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just certain things like that.
Yeah, and I think that you saw it whenever his players, and we might be going a little bit long on the Zimmer praise, but you saw it in the preseason when Overshown was talking about how smart he is as a D coordinator. It's the difference between knowing tendencies of other teams. If they are really good with their cover three man beaters, then you want to shift into that cover four look. It's just those simple things that a defensive mind can understand and see on the fly and get his team in the right coverage. That is going to be so night and day difference from DQ to Zimmer. Super excited about that. Let's jump into the rookie grades, and because we're going a little bit long, and I'll just keep them short, and then we'll jump into New Orleans preview. Tyler Guyton, I gave him a B minus. The technique kind of reverted back to his OU days a little bit, getting over his skis, his shoulder pads over his feet, kind of diving more into the opposing edge. But overall, man, the pressure rate that he gave up was solid against one of the best pass rushers in the league, and he really only had 3 plays that I kind of dog-eared as bad plays, negative plays. He had another handful that were just bad technique, but he held his own, and then quite a few wins actually. So B
Yeah.
minus for him. What would you give him?
Yeah, I'm around that B. I think a bad game for him was giving up like multiple sacks or
Yeah.
strips or something like that. Like you said, his that's why it's important that we can't replicate. We can only go to Weather for so long, Solaris for so long.
Hmm. Yep.
You need to be
Yep.
in a fight, and this is great, good reps, good quality, safe reps that didn't affect the team like in a loss, right? And you came out of this you came out of this unscathed. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
from a grading standpoint. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the Cowboys also did a really good job of understanding who he had matched up against him and helping with the chips, helping with the rollouts from Dak to one side, kind of isolating him away from Garrett was just really good coaching and really good scheming by the Cowboys offensive coaches. I'll let you take Cooper Beebe actually with your letter grade first for him.
I would give him, I would say B plus, A minus,
Okay.
B plus, around that, like 89, if I would say. It's not he had a very good day. He has, I mean, this is predictable. I thought I know he's gonna have a better season than Tyler Guyton because Tyler Guyton's asked to do more. And um Scuba BB's like fundamental traits are better than Guyton.
Yeah.
Like you've seen his fundamental
He
traits.
has
Yeah.
the higher floor right now.
Yeah.
Guyton has the higher ceiling.
He has the hands, he has the body, he has the power. Like
Yep.
every time Guyton was getting beat by Miles Garrett, Miles Garrett would get on that hip. He didn't sit in a 45-degree angle. He'll open the gate immediately and get beat
Hmm.
and ran around the hoop. BB stay. He's used to being in the middle, so he's used to fighting inside of a phone booth. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought that Cooper Beebe, I gave him an A minus. Zero pressures, like I mentioned at the top of the show. Really good in pass protection overall. The run blocking needs to be better by the entire unit, in my opinion. But he did kind of whiff on that screen pass out to Rico, or I think it was Rico. Might have been another running back, but beside the point, I thought he was really good in space. He kind of lacked a little bit of what I've seen from his college tape, but overall, really good. I gave him an A minus. Marshawn Nealon for me was a B plus. I thought Nealon looked great, quick off the ball. I thought that he actually had the best bend that I've seen on film from him this week. Very, very good at just sinking those hips and diving straight under the opposing tackle. Now, of course, these are against backup tackles, but really impressed with his bend this week. Super solid in run defense, of course. Night and day from him as your second guy or first guy off of the bench and Dorrance Armstrong, in my opinion.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
get
yeah.
more juice as an edge rusher, and then you also get better run defense as a whole. Just he holds his blocks and understands not to just try to get around the edge just to get a sack 24/7. Understands how to play just that contain and just his understanding is night and day as far as that respect. So a B plus for Marshawn Nealon.
Yeah, I gave him about an A minus. He's really, he's really proven all of us wrong as far as scouting of his pass rushing because he's the only reason we were questioning the pass rush minus Micah when he's going out in coverage. And I think his play this week, I know it was versus backup tackles, but it was very impressive. I already knew he was good. I already said I called it already. Even though he's a rookie, he's elite in the run fits. That's what his Western Michigan tape came off. He knows how to take on the shoulder. He was wrecking the field, and he's allowing him being on that edge and setting like someone else is going to eat every time. That's elite. Having that being in that fight, that's effort. That's what I've
Yeah,
seen from this entire defense. All like that's I didn't see that on the film. And then the speed, the power, sat on
yeah.
his lap. You know what I'm saying? So that's good, man.
Yeah, no, I thought that he was spectacular for his debut as well. Really good play overall from the rookies in general. Kalen Carson, I gave a B plus. Got beat for the TT or the touchdown against Judy. Um, Overall, played physically, played with awareness and good understanding of the defense in general, knowing when he had help over the top, knowing when he needed to give cushion, and give credit to the other guys obviously out there. Malik Hooker was
Yeah.
probably in his ear a lot, telling him, "Hey, I'm not there this time," and understanding that stuff in the huddle. Um, but overall, really good. Got a few pass defenses as well. Should have had a couple interceptions, but
Yeah,
that'll come.
yeah,
I
yeah.
know Al Harris was chirping in his ear about those dropped picks. But yeah, for getting thrown out there in as a replacement of an all pro, reigning probably should have been more in the discussion for defensive player of the year last year, Deron Bland. I thought he played really well.
I think something that we're not talking about is and I meant like with the Marshawn Nealon, these rookies, they got a chip on their shoulder. You're noticing what the numbers they're picking. These are historic Cowboy numbers that they're picking now. We got Nealon who had 94, DeMarcus Ware, Charles Haley, and you got Kalen Carson with the 21. I mean, those are some pretty historic. So for them to
Yeah,
even have the guts to even pick these numbers, yeah. If he would have had the pick, if he didn't drop at least one pick, I would have gave him an A.
yeah,
In my opinion. And then the touchdown, I mean, it was late in the game. He was inside leverage and they ran an out route. He didn't do the correct technique on that. You gotta press it. And that's why with a guy like him and with a lot of guys on the team, that's why I'm preaching this every week. We got valuable reps. So these guys are gonna improve. You're gonna see improvement through the season. The more times they're out there.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm counting Overshown in the rookie rankings since he didn't get to play any games last year. Dude gets an A plus plus. I mean, this play he looks like he was shot out
This
of a freaking
is
cannon, dude.
insane.
His speed, like being faster, being fast as a football player is one thing. Being faster than Micah
And Micah
Parsons
Parsons.
as a football player is a whole nother thing. Now, of course, Micah's battling in the trenches, so and he was more taking that angle right there, but still, man, absolutely crazy that he can do that. His run fits were really well all night. He was good in coverage. He was decisive, clicked and closed on this play, on a few plays actually. Um, I want to say he even got a pass defense if I'm right. Maybe not. Overall, though, just A plus plus for Overshown, man. Crazy good game. And if this is the linebackers we're getting, the linebacker play all season we're gonna get, man, I said it. I tweeted this out. He looks like, as far as just running out there and hitting guys, he looks like Dre Greenlaw out there. And I mean, if that's what you're getting, a guy that's like Dre Greenlaw that brings some nastiness and likes to hit people, ah man, sign me
If
up.
he can if he can fly around, like he needs to get more in his man body. If he can
Yeah.
do that, then you're head on with that. Yeah, A plus plus. This man, I everyone maybe seen overreaction, but it's kind of warranted. We may have another star being born here in Dallas, man. As far as because the way you saw it last year when we lost him, how it hurt this coaching staff. They knew we were losing a guy. And I'm a Longhorns fan, and I know I've been following him for a long time, and I know how he plays. He plays with that heart. He plays like he value each rep, and that's somebody you want on your team. Agent Zero, you're 100% correct.
Yeah, man, I really wish he would have
Man,
got number 0.
Agent
That'd be
Zero.
fire.
We need to unlock Zero for him. We really do.
All right, and then finally, Maurice Luafau only had 9 snaps on defense. I gave him a C, just at limited snaps. He looked promising overall. Um, oh yeah, Falcon is the resident Michigan fan here. Um, but no, back to Leofau. I thought that he was good in his limited amount of snaps. I just not enough to really tout him as doing anything above what the grade I gave him was, which was a C. So
Yeah, I mean that's warranted. He didn't have enough. This is a learning year for him, so yeah.
for sure, for sure. All right, let's get into this Saints preview really quick. I usually keep these shows at like an hour, but we ran a little bit long. Just having fun. First week of football, man. It's just great to have it back. Um, Clint Kubiak. He comes from the Shanahan tree, was the passing game coordinator for the 49ers in 2023. A guy that creates some pretty creative looks on offense, and they've got some weapons there for the Saints. Olave basically didn't do anything in that routing of the Panthers
Mhm.
in Week 1, and they still scored 47 points. Um, Kamara is going to be a handful to cover out of the backfield and to in the running department. They got Taysom Hill that they use as a tight end, a running back, a quarterback, everything under the sun. Um, they got what's his name, Jawan. Who's their other tight end? I blanked on him.
Yeah, I'm blanking
He,
too.
he's decent.
Yeah,
He's a red zone threat. And then they got Shaheed, which is
yeah,
a
I know.
burner over the
Yeah,
top. So
yeah,
some guys you got to be on your P's and Q's about, and on the offensive side of things, as far as their defense goes, you have to understand. Hey, you've got another big test right here. Tyler Guyton, Cam Jordan coming to town. They've got a really good, probably one of the best safeties in the league in Tyrann Mathieu. Marshawn Lattimore, I don't think that he's quite a top 10 corner anymore. I think that he's
yeah.
kind of dropped down. Um, and then they've got what's his name?
Is it the linebacker? Oh,
Yeah, they got
Demario Davis.
Demario
Yeah,
Davis, as well, who's a veteran linebacker, gets his defense in the right fits and
run
whatnot.
stuffer. Yeah.
But I was mentioning their nickel corner. I can't remember who it is. Pretty good though. Um, Regardless, which of those guys that I kind of mentioned are you most worried about in this game? And if you think that there is a matchup that we can exploit, what would it be?
Offensively, we're gonna be tested again. This is the Saints always have a pretty good run defense, so I want to see. Um, Luckily, I am more confident in Tyler Guyton this week. This game got the Cardinals game written all over it. I
Mm,
don't want us to overlook and looking at the next week. We need to take
yeah,
this week by week. Hopefully, they're doing it. They're valuing every win, especially with their contracts on the line. So, uh, if because this team can be neutralized when with the right scheme. Um, I imagine we're gonna lean heavy on the run game. I think we should test our run defense for sure, and then open up the play action game. I'm curious what we're going to see to do replacing Ferg. Hopefully Ferg is there. I
hmm
want to see. I think our this is a game for our receivers. I feel like CD can, even though I don't want him to, because I don't want to risk injury. This can be a big game for him. Even if I really do. And it's gonna. I think this is a wide receiver. The wide receivers take over this game. I feel like there's a lot of favorable matchups in their secondary.
yeah. I'm pulling up. I just went to pull up who they have on that back end. Um, so Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo is who I was thinking of. That's
Mm,
a decently good corner there, who's been playing some good ball. Alontae Taylor's their other corner, and then Marshawn Lattimore, like I said, who's kind of kind of been iffy these past few seasons, in my opinion,
right.
except for whenever he matches up against Mike Evans for whatever reason, he thinks that he's yeah. Regardless, I kind of agree. I actually like our passing attack against this Saints defense as long as you, are cognizant and aware of where their safeties are roaming,
Mhm.
and understanding if they're giving you that shell look. I know that Dennis Allen is a good defensive coordinator. He's going to try to mix up some stuff and send some blitzes, but Dak typically is very good against the blitz. Um, I'm I'm really it's more about our defense against their offense because I think that Clint Kubiak and I'll pull up this play actually because and shout out to Skywalker Steel, he posted this play um about what they're doing right here, and it looks like it's just gonna be like a little crack toss or something like that over here or the screen, but they actually leak out this tight end. Let's
Mm,
pause right there, and they get this touchdown right here. So watch where this tight end starts. So he comes across the
mhm.
formation, comes over here, sets in line, All of the defense floods, and
Yeah, what is
the,
20 doing?
yeah, all because it looks like it's probably going to be a screen or some type of toss
Yeah.
or whatever out there to the outside. But this is the creativity that this offense has. They put up 47 points. Now, the Panthers were a decent defense last year. This game was just absolutely horrible for them. So I don't really know where they're at on defense. Uh,
And I
but
don't I don't know if they also lost Brian Burns. I don't know
yeah,
because did their because they have one of the best interior D linemen in the league. I think he got hurt.
he got hurt. Yep,
Yeah,
Dwayne Brown.
so
Um, yeah, so uh, you know, or Derek Brown, sorry.
Derek Brown, yeah.
Um, So I don't know where they're at on defense, but as far as this is stuff that you have to be ready for, and you have to know where you're supposed to be in the scheme. And
Mhm.
you're playing a complicated defensive scheme now. You have to understand, your assignments and have that communication as well. Now, uh, like we mentioned earlier, Kendricks being on the field and getting the players in the right spots, Hooker on that back end, telling Carson and helping him out some. Those are big pieces that are going to, I think, really shift what happens in this game. If you start off hot and your offense is rolling, and then you get some stops on defense and build a lead, I feel very, very good. But if you let them hang around, like you mentioned, this could be a trap game like the Cardinals. Derek Carr, say what you want about him, but he can make some good throws out there. Now he can be prone to interceptions and forcing some balls as well. So if you got some sticky coverage, you can get a few turnovers off of him. That plays into your defense and allowing you to build some leads. But do not sleep on this Saints team. Home opener, like I mentioned, Cowboys have averaged like 33 points at home over the past 2 seasons. So the outlook looks good for the Cowboys, but
Mhm.
man, I'm nervous about this game after seeing them put up so many points. Now, the Panthers are probably the worst team in the league, but
Yeah.
you have to take the first week with a grain of salt, of course. But man, it looks like they're a creative offense. So this might be the first real test for our defense against the Shanahan treed offense, and figuring out things and working out some kinks. Um, Score predictions. We'll roll into that really quick since we're running a little bit long.
I would say 24-10.
24-10. Only 24 by us, man. Come on now.
I I think we're you can see in the Browns game we're heavy and not showing everyone what we have. We're trying to keep our cards close this
Mm,
season. I believe. So
okay.
yeah.
I think it's going to be 33 again. Back to back 33-point games. 33-20. I feel good about that. Anyways, if it is your first time on my channel, and you like Lou and what he's talking about, go check him out. I dropped his YouTube page and his Twitter in the description underneath the video, so please do go check him out. If you're from Lou's side and you kind of liked my content, come check me out, Boys in the Zone, or YouTube /EJ the number 2 Savage. And it's Cowboys talk always here every single Tuesday night, unless I mention it on Twitter, then I'm gonna roll a different night. But yeah, be here all season, and it's just a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys in the chat. Lou, anything you want to say before leaving, my brother?
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's gonna be a great season, taking it game by game. It's always fun to talk ball. I hope we can do this again, man. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure having you. And with that being said, we'll catch you next week. Peace.
Yeah. Forget what you got, none of it matters until you don't wear from the top. I'm talking non-stop squad.